Hi, Arun. Thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, no, thanks. Glad to be able of help. So my name is Arun Ramchandran. People call me Rack, so you can call me either. I'm based out of the West Coast in Silicon Valley. Been here for 25 plus years. Uh, what else would you want to know?
Well, what are some of your hobbies and interests?
So I'm in the technology sector, but outside of work, I love traveling. I love Costco. I love running. Uh, I enjoy socializing, so I have varied interests. We watch TV, we watch streaming shows, and so on and so forth. Pretty active in the social community here. Yeah,
So traveling, do you combine the traveling and running sometimes and go and run in races in odd places?
I do. Whether they're races or not, I do explore my neighborhood, and I've had some of the best experiences knowing about a city by just running on some of the trails next to a river. You can cover a lot, and you can see some neighborhoods which you otherwise won't get to see.
Um, do you run like 5Ks and half marathons and things like that?
I used to run half marathons. I've come down a little bit, so it's mostly 5Ks and 10Ks nowadays. Yeah. What about
I
you?
uh,
Do you run as well?
I do. I just recently raced in a 5K. It was aliens versus astronauts, and it's a costume race.
And you were an astronaut?
I was an alien.
Alien. Right, right.
But I normally am lucky to break 10 minutes a mile. I'm like a slow runner, but
I'm much slower than that. I'm much slower than that. Yeah.
I was able to do 8:40, and then looking at the winning times, it looks like if you could do a 7 minute mile, you could place.
Uh,
So
God, I mean, I don't know how people do that. I'm finding it hard to even cross the 10 and a half mark nowadays. So probably old age catching up.
oh goodness, I aren't they working on that in Silicon Valley so that old
Yeah,
age
yeah,
gets left
yeah.
behind?
Yeah, but that's mainly for the billionaires and the centi-billionaires. It doesn't, those are the ones who are going to get the first dibs at keeping themselves alive for longer and regenerating from their dead bodies.
Oh goodness. So traveling, what's the most adventurous traveling that you've done?
Most adventurous. Well, I've been on hikes. I've done bungee jumping in New Zealand. That was adventurous. That was like everybody did it in the family, right? We've been on some of these camping trips, which have been adventurous. Recently, we did a 9 hour hike in Yosemite to a place
Okay.
called Clouds Rest. Yeah. We've done this Angel's Landing in Zion. That was pretty adventurous. So, different kinds of adventures. Sometimes it's natural, sometimes it's man made. But I love visiting new places. Yeah.
Now, if you could, would you consider venturing to places off of this planet, like to the moon and just to low Earth orbit and other
Yeah, as long
places?
as I can get back and get home for the weekend. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I know it will take more time and so on, but yeah, I don't mind exploring some of these, uh, out of Earth, extraterrestrial, so to speak, tourist spots. Love to do that. How quickly can you
Yeah.
get us there, Nathan?
Hey, well, it's actually coming much quicker than you think. Like, how long did it take for you to fly from the US to New Zealand for you to go do the bungee jumping?
Right, right. So some of these distances are 15, 20 hours, right? With a layover sometime 20, 25 hours. So yeah, it does take time.
Now, SpaceX is working on a spacecraft that'll be 100% reusable, and they're planning to use it for point-to-point Earth travel, travel to low Earth orbit, travel to the moon, travel to Mars. And they say they could get from the US to New Zealand using this craft in like 30 minutes.
What about US to the moon?
Uh, pretty much 3 days is how much it's going to take. You could get there faster, right? It's all about how fast you go. The problem is if you go faster than the speed that takes 3 days, you'll need to slow down when you get there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll shoot past the moon. And so, 3 days, you're going slow enough that the moon's gravity will be able to capture your spacecraft.
Yeah.
So, and plus, the faster you go, the more you're going to have to slow down, which means the more fuel you'll have to carry to slow down, and it becomes kind of an exponential thing. So
A little bit of a balance between acceleration and steady state. Hey, listen, if an airline company manages to use that in their airline loyalty program, I will sign up.
yeah, just fly 1 billion miles, and you get to
Yeah,
go to
yeah,
space
you'll
for.
like lifetime global services on United. Not a problem. Yeah, yeah.
Well, but SpaceX was talking about pricing, and they said they could be profitable for an equivalent first class airline ticket. So I think first class in New Zealand is about $15,000. So $15,000 to get there in 30 minutes
Yeah,
might
yeah.
be worth
And
it.
well, I mean, sometimes I wonder whether getting to a destination faster is worth it, right?
Mm.
Because I pay for first class to enjoy the in-flight dining experience, the ability to sleep, disconnect, watch some movies. I don't want that to get done in 30 minutes and still have to pay $15,000 for it, right? Then what's the difference between me and the person sitting in economy who's also getting there in 30 minutes? I mean, even before we had a chance to stretch our legs, we are at the destination. I might as well pay $500 and sit in economy.
Well, yeah. So there won't be economy. I mean, there won't. I don't know what the first class. I don't know what the if they'll have classes in this for like 30 minutes type flight. But it's funny you make that point. Like, what's the difference between first class and the person in economy? Uh, you could turn that around too. Like the guy in economy paid $500, and you've paid $15,000 to fly first class, and you'll still arrive at the same time.
Same destination. And that is my thing is, if the distance is long enough, you get enough time to enjoy, maybe you want to pay that difference. But what's the point of just half an hour of difference, right? And how much is that value for half an hour of special treatment? By the time you take off, the unbuckle your seatbelt, and they says put on the seatbelt back.
Yeah. So I mean, really, we're comparing three different things here, right? We're comparing the ability to get there in 30 minutes for the same price that would take 15 hours, but you get a slightly comfortable seat, versus paying a lower price and getting there in 15 hours. So, yeah.
No, I get it. I mean, it's about how desperately and how quickly I want to reach that place. If it is for, I mean, everybody has got a mental construct as to what is urgent and how urgent it is. If it's really that urgent, can I get on a Zoom call like I'm doing with you and discuss it out, right? If I need to go there to get a meal with somebody, can that person wait? And how much is that meal cost? I mean, I'm going $15,000 to get a $500 meal. I don't know.
But I mean, I think, like family members who live overseas who get sick,
Yeah.
and, really that 14 hours could mean
Oh yeah,
a huge difference.
there are use cases. If you sit down and think about it, I'm sure there are use cases. But whether it's going to be commercially viable for regular flights, I don't know.
And then also you have those situations where you need like this technician or this person with a certification to like go and get your plant that's not working, that's costing you $100 million a day. You're like, yeah, $15,000 for him to get here in 30 minutes versus tomorrow is kind of might be worth it.
Yeah. I'm sure you've thought through this. You seem to have given it a lot of thought. Yes. I'm reacting more like a little off the cuff here, but
Well, last time talking about the moon, last time we went to the moon was in 1972, and NASA's talked about going to the moon multiple times since then. But this time, they actually have hardware. They have astronauts in training. They've tested out the rocket and the capsule that take them around the moon. And next year, they should be sending astronauts around the moon the year after that landing. I was wondering if you had heard about this.
well, I just found out when you sent me that link to read up, because I wasn't aware that we are getting to the moon so fast. But it's 50 years since more than 50 years since the last moon landing, right? I'm even wondering whether it even happened.
Do you think that's like a psychological defense mechanism to make it less painful? Like it's easier to think that we never were there, as opposed to thinking we could have gone there and we somehow lost that capability.
I mean, you look at the hardware, the software, the memory, the computing power, the kind of spacecraft. I mean, I've been to that Johnson Space Center where they have that modules and so on. Like, seriously, I mean, I'm sure it was all fake. I'm just kidding. I know we went there. I know we did a lot of things to be proud of, but I can't imagine why we haven't been there again 50 years and we're still finding it. We are struggling to figure out how to get back. I mean, our smartphone nowadays have more memory and more computing and faster processing than the whole of Apollo 11 and so on, right? So what gives? What is holding back? Why is NASA need another 2 years? Come on, put people on the moon now.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with why did we first go to the moon? And that was to beat the Soviets. I mean, the Soviet Union launched the first satellite, the first living thing, the first human. They landed the first probe on another planet. They sent the first probe to another planet. And the US was having trouble literally getting its rockets off the ground. And so the moon was chosen as something that was like so far away that it would take them some time and would give us time to actually do it. And it's not, in my opinion, so amazing that we stopped going, but that we went a total of 6 times instead of just the first time. It's almost like a victory lap. And to your question about why is it taking so long for us to get back, I think a lot of reason is people are scared of losing another crew. And you have a system set in place of like government contractors being compensated for work, not for achievement. And so it's far more profitable and safe to have spacecraft on the ground that you are testing and building than potentially launching one and losing some people. And I think
they have done that with space shuttles. I mean, they have lost people in space shuttles. They have sent interplanetary stuff. I mean, I think there are people ready to say, listen, I will sign away. I will sign away the liability, or I will not hold you. I mean, if you send me to the moon, I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, I don't mind if, and I trust you guys, right? That kind of stuff. So, but even non-manned probes or shuttles or spacecrafts haven't been to the moon that often after that.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, there's been several attempts. India attempted to land one on the moon.
Yeah, it sent on the other side of the moon, the dark side. Yeah.
And then been able to land there.
Yeah.
I think about, what, a year ago?
Yeah. Which is what, I mean, so it's been 50 years, right? 50 years since the last manned landings. I don't know when was the next landing. Forget the manned landing, right? After 1972, when did we land next spacecraft on the moon? When did we ever do that after that?
So like the US?
Anybody?
Anybody? Well, I think China in like earlier in the 2010s did.
Okay.
So China's been doing a lot on the moon. They have big plans in terms of having a permanently inhabited facility on the moon.
Well, I mean, it is our next stop, right? I mean, just given time, space constraints and, distance and so on, moon is our next stop. It should be the next stop, both for resources, mining, helping as a waypoint for future space explorations. We'll need to set up a colony there soon.
And whenever you think about the future of humanity, if you look out 200 years in the future,
yeah.
Do you see people like you and me making like family trips to the moon, or do you think it'll only be like professional astronauts doing this?
It depends on how bad the climate gets here, right? We have 2 ways of expanding. One is going to the space, which is still unproven. The other is digging deeper, below oceans, subterranean, and creating living spaces, human living spaces there. Because those are the only 2 ways to get alternative space for humanity once climate change becomes real bad, right? And it could happen. I mean, we may stave it off, but it could happen, right? So I think it's about technology advancement and how quickly we can make these leaps of faith in terms of our living conditions, sophistication in the way we are arranging these spaces, ability to get there. Let's see. Yeah. I think everybody has their own imaginations on this, right? 200 years, AI might be the driving force. Human beings may not even have an agency to control this.
That's true. We might be pets of AI.
Yeah,
We might be their random number generators.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I I do foresee whether it's 200, 500, 1,000, maybe a little more. Do foresee human colonies in outer space. It may not be the moon per se, because moon is a little inhospitable because of the atmosphere and so on. But there are moons of Jupiter which are inhabitable, which have water. Right? Getting there is a problem, but once you get there, you can start a whole generation, create infrastructure. We'll have to figure it out.
Absolutely. Well, it's been such a pleasure to get to talk to you. I'll go ahead and stop the recording unless you had something else to add.
No, likewise, Nathan. You've done hundreds of these. So, uh, what has been the most surprising reactions or answers you've got?
Okay, so some memorable ones. I interviewed a daughter and her mom at like a filling station, and I got to the question of, would you take a trip to space? And the mom's like, yes, and the daughter is like, no. And the mom was like so surprised to learn that about her daughter. She's like, you do everything.
Yeah,
Why won't
yeah,
you
yeah.
take a trip to space? So I thought that was kind of neat. One person I asked, would you take a trip to space? He's like, yeah, even if the aliens had to abduct me, I would go. So
Yeah,
I
human
don't.
beings are different kinds. So I'm sure you've been having fun with this. So good luck with your project, and I'm glad to have been able to contribute a little snippet, and look forward to seeing the recording up there, and watching your progress. What's your goal? When do you stop recording? When do you stop these interviews?
At the end of this year. So when
Okay.
I started the project, NASA had announced they would have astronauts on the moon by the end of 2024. And so that became my target. So that date has slipped, but the end of my project still counting down to the end of this year. So that'll be that.
Does NASA support you, sponsor this project?
No, in fact, I kind of run into the opposite problem of needing to make sure that people understand this is strictly a personal project. It has no affiliation with NASA or the contractor that I work for, and all my views are completely my own.
Of course, of course.
So,
And to your alien masters. Yeah, sure.
exactly. And they sponsored me in the race last
Yeah.
weekend. So
Hey, listen, it has been pleasure talking to you. You're a fun guy and you're doing a fun project. I'm glad to be associated. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
thank you so much. Well, enjoy the rest of your day then.
Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye bye.
Bye bye.